In the name of Allah Almighty, the most beneficent and the most merciful. It is lecture number 5 of the subject, that is popular fiction, and the topic of today's discussion is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Okay, many of you are familiar with this series of Harry Potter, and we have grown up by watching this series as well. Okay, so we have to discuss Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone today. And today, what aspects we have to cover of this novel are the introduction, J.K. Rowling, the writer of the novel. We will discuss something about her as well. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, what this novel is all about, characters in the novel, then there is summary and conclusion. Okay, so starting with the introduction. Harry Potter is a series of 7 fantasy novels written by British author J.K. Rowling. So it is basically a fantasy novel, and this novel is based on series, and it is written by some British author, that is J.K. Rowling. The novels chronicle the lives of a young wizard. Wizard means magic, magic man. Young wizard means the one who knows how to do magic. So it chronicles means it chronicle is about history. So this novel talks about the history of someone who is a young wizard, the young magic man. His name is Harry Potter, and his friends Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley, all of whom are students at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So this book is this Harry Potter series. It's about a boy. His name is Harry Potter. He had 2 friends named Hermione and Ron, and they are students at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Hogwarts School. Hogwarts School, it's the name of the school where students were taught how to do magic, how to play tricks and such type of. Witchcraft means the art of doing a magic, and wizardry is the same, almost like the studying magic. The main story arc concerns Harry's struggle against Lord Voldemort, a dark wizard who intends to become immortal, overthrow the wizard governing body known as the Ministry of Magic, and subjugate all wizards and muggles. So this story is basically it's a fictional story. All right, there's no reality, but it's just the imagination of the writer, and she talks about Harry's struggle against Lord. And usually it happens that whatever story we come across, we notice that there's a struggle going on between the protagonist and the antagonist of the novel, like the person who is at good, who does virtues, and he tries and struggles against someone who is who does not have integrity. He's not an honest man. Similarly, Harry here, he portrays someone who is honest and who is a positive character, we can say protagonist, and he struggles against Lord Voldemort. He is a dark wizard, means bad wizard, bad magic man, and he wants to become immortal. Why does he want to become immortal? So that he will never die and overthrow the wizard governing body known as the Ministry of Magic. So whatever the Ministry of whatever the governing body is, that is Ministry of Magic, he wants to overthrow that and subjugate means to make them obey him. So he want all of them to obey. He want all wizards, means all magicians and muggles. Muggles are basically the human born. I'll explain muzzle later, but first let me explain it. So Ministry of Magic, he wanted to subjugate all of the magic man or magic, the one who knows the magic, just to make them obey him. So that is why Harry was against that. So I would like to explain the muggle here. Muggles are those students, or you can say the magicians, who are human born, like born from the human. They came from the human family, but they know the magic, so they are called as muggles. And wizards are those who are born from someone who knows the magic, and they also know magic because they have studied at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Okay, so here we have the introduction of the author. John Rowling, born 31 July 1965, better known by her pen name J.K. Rowling, is a British author and philanthropist. Philanthropist means the one who loves humanity. She is best known for writing the Harry Potter fantasy series, which has won multiple awards and sold more than 500 million copies. After Shakespeare and Bible, the one which is widely read is J.K. Rowling. So her work, that is Harry Potter, it has sold, it's 500 million copies are sold, and it's such a huge number. Okay, it became the best-selling book series in history. The books are the basis of a popular film series. Yes, there is a film on it as well, and I have also watched it. I guess that many of you might also have watched the movie. So if the people who did not have watched it yet, I would suggest them to watch it so that they can have a better understanding of this novel. Okay, so there are popular film series over which Rowling had overall approval on the scripts, and the scripts of the movies were also approved by J.K. Rowling. She also writes crime fiction under the pen name Robert Galbraith. So she writes crime fiction, and her pen name for that crime fiction is Robert Galbraith. Okay, so we have the main characters of the novel. First we will try to understand them, and then we will discuss the summary of the novel. Who is Harry Potter? Harry Potter is the son of James and Lily Potter and the nephew of Vernon and Petunia Dursley. At the beginning of the book, Harry is an unimpressive figure, skinny, sloppy, isolated from his family, the constant victim of his cousin's bullying, and marked with a lightning-shaped scar on his forehead, the result of Voldemort's failed attempt to kill him during his infancy. So he is a son of James and Lily Potter. Alright, they were also wizards. They also know how to use magic, and he was son of them. And he was nephew of Vernon and Petunia Dursley. So what happens? This Voldemort, he was a villain of the story. He did what? He killed James and Lily Potter. As a result, he became orphan. So what happened? He was dropped at the doorstep of Petunia and Vernon Dursley, and he was raised by his aunt and uncle. So what happened? The father and the mother of the Harry Potter, they were killed by Voldemort, and he was one of the wizard. Alright, so after his discovery of his magical abilities and his introduction to the wizarding world and Hogwarts, Harry begins to grow in confidence, strength and courage until he becomes a worthy protagonist capable of facing off against the Dark Lord himself by the end of the book. So what happened? He went to the Hogwarts, like it was a school of wizardry where he learned the magical skills, and he also discovered his own magical abilities, and he became a wizard. Harry is particularly affected by the deaths of his parents, and much of his behavior is informed by his loneliness and desire to avenge their wrongful deaths. So when he was informed that his parents were killed by Voldemort, so he just thought of taking revenge of his being orphan and avenge the death of his parents. Yes, Hermione Granger, she is a friend of Harry, and Harry and Ron's best friend at Hogwarts. A first year in Gryffindor school, Gryffindor house. Hermione is Muggle-born. Muggle-born means the one who are actually humans. Alright, so she was born of humans and her parents were not wizards, meaning that neither of her parents has magical ability. Despite her background, Hermione gains a reputation of being one of the brightest witches in her year, particularly because of her unfailing work ethic and determination to succeed, and perhaps because of her insecurity over her background. So she was one of the brightest witches. She was, the brilliant student at the Hogwarts, and his work ethic and determination brought her success. She was the bright student. Okay, Ron Weasley, he was also the son, he was the friend of Hermione and Harry, the youngest son of the Weasley family and Harry's best friend, characterized by his modesty, occasional insecurity, and thirst to escape the ever-looming shadows of his successful brothers. Ron proves himself to be a loyal friend to both Harry and Hermione, and a brilliant player of wizarding chess. He was the youngest son of Weasley family, and he was a loyal friend of Harry and Hermione, and he wanted to escape the the success of his brothers, because his brothers were successful and he also wanted to become successful like them. Although Ron acknowledges the difficulties of being the youngest son of poor wizarding family, resulting in constant hand-me-down, he rarely expresses any resentment to his family and desires only to become individually successful and significant. So he belonged to a humble background, like humble background of the wizarding family, and he wanted to have his own successful life. As a wizard, Ron is mediocre, often needing Hermione's help for spells and homework assignments. He is mediocre, he is not that much brilliant. So what he does, he takes help of Hermione in spells, in magics and homework assignment, but he is able to scrap by academically, and he never fails to perform during dangerous situations. So he just keep on struggling, and as a result he get through the dangerous situations. So these are the three friends at the Hogwarts school. Yes, Professor Dumbledore, he is also important character because he was the headmaster of Hogwarts and Voldemort's only feared enemy. He is the headmaster of the school, and and Voldemort consider him his enemy. Voldemort is antagonist, he is the villain of the story. Okay. In addition, Professor Dumbledore is the former head of Gryffindor house. Gryffindor house, okay, let me tell you the houses. There were 4 houses in the school, and these houses were named on the basis of the students' abilities. Like if someone was clever, he was put in one school. If someone is intelligent, he is put in the other house. If someone is dull student, so he is put in the other house. So he belonged to a Harry also belonged to a Gryffindor house, which is a house of intelligent people. Okay, so Dumbledore were also the head of this house. Former Transfiguration professor, he was the professor as well. Supreme Mugwump of the International Confederation of Wizards, he have won this level. Chief Warlock of the Wizengamot and Grand Sorcerers. So he was basically he was the warlock of this game and Grand Sorcerers. So upon the death of Lily and James Potter, Professor Dumbledore decides to place Harry in the care of Dursley family. So what happened when Harry's parents were died? So he was the person who brought Harry to the doorstep of the Dursley family. He wanted Harry to be raised by his uncle and aunt, especially because his position in a Muggle household will allow him a more typical childhood. So in Muggle house, in the house of those people who do not know magic, so he will grow up as a normal child. Voldemort, the villain of the novel, so also known as Lord Voldemort, the Dark Lord, he who must be named. Voldemort rose to power in 1970s with a faithful following of dark wizards called Death Eaters. So he was basically the follower of dark wizard, we can say the evil, the wizards who used their power for evil purposes. During his reign of terror through the 1970s and 1980s, no one was safe from Voldemort's cruelty except for those at Hogwarts. So what happened? He became the Dark Lord of this magic world, and he just inflicted cruelties on everyone except those who were at the Hogwarts. Professor Dumbledore was the only wizard that Voldemort still feared. So he was fearful of Dumbledore. Voldemort was unexpectedly torn from power when he attempted to perform the killing curse, Avada Kedavra, on the infant Harry Potter. So what happened? Harry's mother, when she was mother and father, when they were killed by Voldemort, so her mother, she actually made a protective shield again around the Harry, so that Voldemort may not attack him. What happened when he attacked? He tried to attack the Harry Potter, but there was just a mark left on his forehead. He could not kill the Harry. What happened? Because of that protective shield, this Voldemort, he himself was injured, and his powers were also lost. Okay. When Lily Potter sacrificed herself to save her son, yes, she sacrificed herself. She gave her powers to that shield so that Harry is protected. She created a protective shield over Harry, and not only was Voldemort unable to kill the child, he nearly destroyed himself in the process. So Voldemort was almost destroyed. For the next 11 years, Voldemort existed only as a wraith, waiting to regain his strength. Wraith is called as a ghost. So he had no existence, he was just a ghost, and he wanted to regain his strength. Okay. With Professor Quirrell's help, Voldemort successfully infiltrates Hogwarts in his effort to find the Sorcerer's Stone. So it was a kind of stone which produces the elixir. Elixir means energy boosters. So it produces energy boosters of life that can restore him to full power. So actually the struggle was, Voldemort's struggle, in which he tried to regain his power, his full energy through this Sorcerer's Stone. And this stone was protected in the Hogwarts school, and he was in struggle of getting this stone. When he was getting this stone, he encountered Harry. So at that time, Harry got to know that he was behind the Sorcerer's Stone. So Harry wanted to save that stone. On the other hand, this Voldemort wanted to get that stone. So because of this struggle, this story moves because of the struggle of good and the evil. Unfortunately, Harry retrieves the stone before Voldemort and get it. So what happened? And upon Professor Dumbledore's entrance, Voldemort escapes in spirit form and leaves Quirrell to die. So what happened? Instead of helping he did not help Voldemort in getting. Rather, he tried to restrict him, and as a result, Harry was injured and he was taken to the hospital by Dumbledore. But Voldemort, he just escapes in spirit, and Quirrell, the Professor Quirrell, who helped Voldemort in getting that Sorcerer's Stone, he died. In the book, Voldemort is characterized by his ambition, resourcefulness, manipulation of weaker minds, and determination to regain his former power. Significantly, however, he is also identified for his lack of knowledge about love and emotion, which provided Harry with his mother's protective shield. So he did not love knowledge. He did not love knowledge. He was emotion, which provided Harry with his mother's protective shield. Alright, next other characters we have Hagrid, Draco Malfoy. Okay, I'm not going to discuss them in detail, rather I'll just narrate them. Who were they? Hagrid was a gamekeeper for Hogwarts, and he was the first person who took Harry from the house of those muggles like his uncle and aunt, and he took him to the school of Hogwarts. Alright, Hogwarts school. So he was half human and half giant. Okay, Draco Malfoy, he was basically a first year student in Slytherin house, the house where they were, sharp people were there. So he was Harry's enemy, Draco Malfoy. Alright, so Neville Longbottom is a diffident boy, he was a shy boy. So he was also a boy in school. He was also one of the companion of Harry. Rubeus Hagrid, he was half giant, nearly 12 feet tall. He was also a giant in the Hogwarts school. Petunia Dursley and Vernon Dursley. Petunia was a sister of Harry's mother Lily, and Vernon was her husband. And Dudley Dursley. Dudley Dursley is an overweight, spoiled bully child and Harry's cousin. He's Harry's cousin, Petunia, and Vernon's son is Dudley. Okay, summary. I'm not going to narrate or read these slides. I'm just going to narrate the summary. So what happened? The novel opens with the description of Dursley family, and Professor Dumbledore is there, who just put Harry on the doorsteps of the Dudley house. Lily and her Lily's sister and her husband, they just saw Harry on the doorstep, and they got to know that Petunia got to know that her sister was died. So out of courtesy, they started raising Harry. Harry was raised with his cousin. His name was Dudley, and Dudley used to bully his cousin Harry for time and again. Okay, when he was 11th year old, he was of 11th after 10 years. Okay, Harry became pale and skinny. All right, so Harry was told that his parents were killed in a car accident. But on his 11th birthday, the that is Hogwarts, he appeared there, who was half giant, half man. He appeared there. He used to write letters to the Harry, and he told him that his parents were not died in accident, rather they were killed by Voldemort. He took Harry to the Hogwarts school. On the way, he made Harry to have shopping of to do shopping for the school. There he meet different people, and then there was railway station where Harry had to catch the train, and he then went to the Hogwarts school. So what happened there? Yes, here's the description of the school and the bank and the railway station, all about the life of those people who used to know magic. Okay, a month later, so what happened? Okay, then there was a Professor Snap, the potion instructor. Like potion means the poisons, how to use the poison. So he disliked Harry, and Harry notices that his scar seems to prickle whenever Snap glares at him. So his that mark on his forehead, it used to get prickle. Okay. So he thought that he was the person who was helping Voldemort, but he was not the person. So what happened? And there's a scene when there was, during the first flying lesson, Neville break his wrist and must be taken to the hospital wing by the instructor. Malfoy, who was enemy of the Harry, he grabbed Neville's Ramblebral, forgotten after his injury. And Ramblebral means that is the flying thing on which they used to fly. So Harry flies. Malfoy, he has stolen Neville's Ramblebral. Harry sees him, and Harry goes in behind him, and as a result, Harry got it back. Okay. So Malfoy took revenge and arranges a midnight fight with the Harry. Okay. So what happened? The four. And they were just fighting with one another, Malfoy, Ron, Hermione and Neville, and the four accidentally enter a forbidden corridor and come across the three-legged dog standing guard. So what happened? They enter a corridor where there was a dog who had 3 legs. Why he was there? The dog was there because he was guarding that Sorcerer's Stone. He was guarding that door where there was a Sorcerer's Stone. Okay, on Halloween night, what happened? Harry, Hermione, Ron, and it was warned that there was a troll. The troll means there was a party who was there and was teasing the young wizards. So that girl, her name is Hermione. She could not hear the warning. As a result, she locked herself in the girls' bathroom. There was an mishap with them that they just got stranded there, and Harry and his friend Ron, they saved Hermione, and from there on they became best friends. Okay, so Harry stays at Hogwarts with Ron over the Christmas holidays, and Harry received different gifts on his Christmas. Alright, so one night what happened? He got a coat of his father. Harry got a coat of his father, that gown of his father. He was standing in front of the mirror, and it was an invisibility cloak. By wearing that gown, he just disappeared. When Professor Dumbledore got to know that Harry was standing in front of the mirror of erased, he reveals his deepest desire of a person's heart, but cannot give true knowledge. So Dumbledore tell him that this mirror can give you your deepest desire, but cannot give you the true knowledge. Okay, so what happened after holidays? When the holidays and the Christmas holidays, and they discovered that the Nicholas Flamel, he is also known as the maker of Sorcerer's Stone. He was the one person who had made the stone. From there onward, they got to know that the dog who they saw in the corridor with the 3-legged, he was the dog who was guarding the Sorcerer's Stone. So what happened? Voldemort attacked that there was a representative of Voldemort. His name was Professor Quirrell. On the other hand, Harry thought that Snap was the representative of Voldemort. So Professor Quirrell, he was there in the Sorcerer's Stone. He was about to get that stone Sorcerer's Stone in order to provide it to Voldemort so that he can regain his energy. So Harry reached there, Harry found him, and it was later on Harry got to know that if it was not the Professor Snape but rather the Professor Quirrell who was, you know, the representative of Voldemort here, and he was about to steal that stone. Harry reached there, and Voldemort also reached there. Voldemort attacked Harry as a result. Dumbledore also reached there, and Dumbledore and Voldemort had a fight. Then when Harry opened his eyes, he was on the bed. He was injured. He got to know that Dumbledore had just attacked Voldemort and that Sorcerer's Stone was saved. Okay, so when Harry wakes up, he finds himself in the hospital wing with Dumbledore. Dumbledore found Harry just in time to keep Quirrell from killing him, so he saved the Harry. Although Voldemort was not destroyed, Harry's action have kept him from regaining power from now. So what happened? Although he was not destroyed, he was not killed, he just escaped from the scene. So Harry's action helped him have kept him from regaining power from now. So Harry's action did what? Harry restricted him from gaining the power, from gaining that Sorcerer's Stone. So at the end of the year banquet, the members of Slytherin house are celebrating their victory. Okay, so as a result, they were celebrating their victory, but Professor Dumbledore has awarded last minute points to Harry. As a result, the Gryffindor house of the Harry, they become victorious. So the novel is totally based on magical aspects. It's a fiction, and imagination is the center of focus, and this novel got fame at every corner of the world due to this extreme unique treatment. Alright, so what you have to do in this novel is that I have narrated the summary and the characters as well. What you are supposed to do, you have to analyze this novel and the characters from this fictional point of view. What fictional elements are there? There's magic, there's fiction, there is imagination, and there is a unique treatment. The treatment no one had done with this novel before. Alright, so this is something new. So this is how we do the analysis of the novel. Okay, if you find any slide, like as I have skipped any slide, so you can pause the video, you can read these slides by yourself. I have just narrated the summary because of the shortage of time, so you can just have the read of these slides conveniently, easily. Alright, that's all.